I think a lot of people get frustrated with the free agency period from the Cowboys because they want the big splash, but the Jones family learned from Bill Parcells a long time ago.
They're splashing in the Bahamas right now. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, is it I don't know. I don't know where it is. Maybe they are. Maybe do they just take the yacht? Is it always parked in like Tampa, or do they park the yacht, the super yacht, in the in Port Aransas or Corpus Christi? Where do they put the super yacht typically? That's a big question I have, because shouldn't we be able to track free agency by where the Cowboys or the Jones family super yacht is? But they don't make the big splash because, and I go back to when Bill Parcells arrived, because the Cowboys did not have this model, and I think they fought this model even while Bill Parcells was here, because Jerry Jones is like, give me this guy, I want this player, this is going to give me a headline. That guy, as soon as he becomes a Cowboy, he's going to be a star, and so he's going to play better. And like that's Jerry's mindset on things, because, quite honestly, I mean, he bought Deion Sanders, and that worked out for him. They won a Super Bowl, right? Like, they went and got Charles Haley, and that turned into a big move. So he's like, just give me the dude, and we're going to become contenders again. But Bill Parcells' approach was, and I don't know maybe Broadus can help us explain it a little more later on, but what I remember of when he came in was, you have your off-season needs, you have your off-season wants, and you have your like off-season pipe dreams. Like that would be, I think CeeDee Lamb, Mike, would have been an off-season pipe dream for the Dallas Cowboys last year. It's never going to happen. And then all of a sudden it did happen, and they made the decision to go with it. But he was in no way a need for this team last year. A slot receiver would have been nice, but a CeeDee Lamb type receiver turned into a, wow, this is fantastic. We didn't even expect this. Let's take advantage of it and make our offense even better. And now they don't have to worry about that if Michael Gallup goes into free agency, or if Michael Gallup is gone. They have a first-round pick to go ahead and just slot him in, and they don't have to worry about replacing Michael Gallup with that caliber of receiver. Okay. But the model is, you just re-sign Jordan Lewis for cheap. You just signed Carlos Watkins. A lot of people may have heard earlier, the Cowboys did make a little bit of a dip in there by adding Carlos Watkins, defensive tackle from the Texans. He is not Ndamukong Suh. He is not Aaron Donald, Mike. He is not going to be a guy that comes in here and wrecks shop. Right. But he is going to fill a spot. And, Mike, I don't know if you've heard me say this a lot. Bill Parcells' approach was, sign as many guys as you can and to fill those spots, and then you don't have to draft for need. And so every move really does make its way to what the draft is going to be, because when you're making your board, you're saying we are taking the best player that we possibly can at that moment. Now, do I believe that the Cowboys always approach it that way? Sometimes I think they get caught up, but last year they did. They said, we have everything else signed that we need. All the holes are filled. We've made all the free agency ads we need. And so they were able to take CeeDee Lamb. And that's what their approach is, and I don't think that's changing anytime soon.
Yeah, everything has been very predictable, right? Before the tampering period started, and as soon as it started, right, we were having signings left and right. I said, here's the predictability of the way it's going to go based off of how it's gone for a long time now. And it's going the exact same way again. Like, I don't expect it ever to change. I don't expect it to change next year because the Cowboys have a lot of high-end contracts on their team. I don't know when this will ever change, and I feel like Broadus and Kavanaugh, especially I think led by Broadus, has brought up a good point, is Stephen Jones so conservative that this will be the Cowboys' downfall in the future? Is because Stephen seems to be handling a lot of this, is that he's never going to sign
risk averse.
Yeah, he's never going to do it, like in his life. And he is, I mean, Jerry's still running things, but Steven is taking a little bit more control, and Steven's most likely going to be the one in control of football for the next, after, let's just say 10 more years. 10 more years from now, Steven will control this thing for 40 years after it or 30 years after it.
That's a really interesting point, because we had Frank Provenzano on our show for years, and he was the assistant GM for the Dallas Stars, the Washington Capitals. Like he'd been around the hockey world for a long time. But you know what he talked about most, like was most important for his job and his role, was the assessment of risk. Like that was his whole. Whenever he was asked by the owner or the GM, what do you think about this? There was all right, how much risk have we contributed across the board? How risky of a player is this going to be? And is it worth it in our whatever formula that they had designed? And you're right, man. Like Johnny Manziel, that was, you got one end of the spectrum with Jerry going wildcatter on that sucker, right? And then on the other end of the spectrum was Steven throwing him up against the wall saying, do not do this. This is not the move that we want to make. And it turned out to be the right move. Yeah. Jerry for the longest time was more likely to say, yeah, let's make some big bold move, whereas Steven has become, and it goes to the Bill Parcells model. It really does, because that's what he learned. I mean, I've always thought this, Mike. I thought that Bill Parcells was brought in to teach Stephen Jones how to be a GM. To teach him how to approach a lot of those things because of his experience over the years of building teams and building a championship or a champion team, quite honestly. But yeah, you got a really good point there of that Stephen Jones may be too conservative. When will he decide to say, you know what, I'm going for it? And if it doesn't work, will he go back into a shell and say, you know what, it wasn't worth it? That's interesting, Mike.